Hello everyone, welcome to Stumpy's Corner, Big E's Clubhouse. It's Tuesday of week 13 of college football season. I thought I would get on here today and talk to you about the coaching carousel, especially with the hiring of James Franklin at Virginia Tech, which several weeks ago that I talked about, and also recommended maybe going down there and getting Michael Vick. If this came through, get Michael Vick to come on back to Virginia Tech and let Mr. Franklin be a tutor to him in college football and help him out. So a great hire by Virginia Tech, and I think the balls will get rolling here and other hirings will be coming. Certainly the other big topic is Lane Kiffin, and that's all over every podcast or sports show you can imagine. That seems to be the big thing going on right now. And where will Lane go? My opinion, I think Lane will stay at Mississippi. I think he's got a title team there this year. I think he's built a wonderful program. I think he's content with his life. And I believe Lane will stay at Ole Miss. So those other jobs will remain open until they're filled. And we'll see what happens, and that'll be the next topic. Certainly the big jobs will be. But I want to dive into it a little bit and give you my opinion as a father of two athletes and a former college athlete myself, and a coach, a youth coach for over 15 years. So, and an avid viewer of college football and fanatic, you might say. So, I want to dive into the coaching thing of a few jobs that are on the board. And but first, I want to start with, there are three coaches out there that I believe what I would kind of lump into what I call the Signetti effect. And I believe these three coaches, if someone would hire them, they can bring a tremendous amount of talent right away from their existing teams, just like Signetti did from James Madison, and to help solidify the locker room and some positions that may be needed at certain jobs or certain schools, teams that will benefit from. So my first one is Eric Morris at North Texas. If you haven't seen them play, they're very exciting, and they have several young players that could be playing in any of the top conferences in the country. So Eric Morris of North Texas, Bob Chesney at James Madison. Certainly another situation where you have some very good players that have some years left on their eligibility that he could bring in and make an impact on the program. The other is Alex Golish of South Florida. He's got a tremendous quarterback who I believe has 1 or maybe 2 years left. And certainly a lot of young players down there at South Florida that could come in and help a program. So those are three guys that I would categorize in the Signetti effect that could come in instantaneously and maybe change the program around if someone will give them a chance. But, you know, they're from a smaller school, and so to speak, but I think it's time some of these guys get their opportunity. So those are three, you could call them dark horses if you will, but I don't. I think there'll be someone will take a chance on any of those guys and won't regret it. Next one is Penn State. If I was Penn State, I would go get Eli Drinkowitz. He has some young talent there as well at Missouri. We'll see what happens. I believe they have Oklahoma this week, and Also, remember Bo Perbula, the quarterback that transferred from Penn State, is playing for Eli Drinkowitz right now. And I always thought Perbula was more of a Penn State type quarterback than Drew Aller. He's kind of a mobile guy, can throw the ball fairly well, and Penn State likes to run. And Drinkowitz has the top rusher in the country this year in the Hardy kid. So might be an opportunity for Penn State to get Eli Drinkowitz, and I think that's who I would pursue. LSU, what can I say? It's what it is. They're after Kiffin hard, just like Florida and Mississippi, but I think they ought to just go ahead and get John Summerall from Tulane. He knows the territory. He's a good coach, highly recommended guy for many jobs, and I would just go ahead and solidify that choice right there with John Summerall. And so much going on down there. I think he could handle it. He kind of understands it, and I think they would do themselves good if they would just go ahead and hire him instead of wait around. So John Summerall is my pick for LSU. Florida, I think they ought to make a big run at Dan Lanning at Oregon. I think Dan would make the move with the right circumstances, and Florida ought to go ahead and make that move with Dan Lanning. That Oregon plays Southern Cal this week, so we'll see what happens in that game. But I think Dan Lanning would listen, and so if I was Florida, I would go after Dan Lanning here, and we'll see. But Auburn job, I'm gonna stay with it. I'm gonna stay with Brent Key. I know he's come out and said he's a jacket for life and whatnot, but I think Auburn would be smart to go ahead and get Brent Key at this job and work out a deal to bring his offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner, over there with him. Buster coached under Kirby Smart, some of you may know. So, and I would keep DJ Durkin as my defensive coordinator. And they know that territory really well, of the state of Georgia, recruiting in Florida, and certainly other surrounding states. So I think Auburn ought to make a real hard play for Brent Key and a deal to bring Buster Faulkner with him as his offensive coordinator. So I'm going to stick with that one. The Arkansas job, I think that thing's wide open. And if I was Arkansas, I'd either go get Eric Morris or Bob Chesney or Alex Golish, one of those three, and wouldn't hesitate on it. And the thing about Morris, he knows the Texas territory really well. And you're in Arkansas, you need to be able to recruit Texas pretty heavy, and he knows that territory pretty well. And like I said, he's already got some players, some guys that can really play, and I think Arkansas would benefit from either one of those three, but Eric Morris in particular. My last thing is it might be a little bit of surprise, but I keep an eye on Josh Heupel at Tennessee. I think Josh is willing to listen to any of these jobs, especially the LSU job, or maybe even the Florida job. So I would keep an eye on Josh Heupel over the next couple of weeks. They got a big game with Florida this weekend. But I would lean, if LSU doesn't make a play for Summerall, I would lean toward Heupel maybe getting a shot at that LSU job. And the last one I'm going to bring up too is Mark Stoops. I think a possibility for Mark Stoops out of Kentucky, if he wanted to leave, would certainly be the Oklahoma State job or the Arkansas job, either one. But I will keep an eye on Mark Stoops over the next couple of weeks. I think there's been a little bit of interest in him in Penn State as well because of the kind of ball he plays and more liking at Penn State. But I still think Penn State ought to go after Eli Drinkowitz. So that's my opinion on my college football coaching carousel of week 13, just to give you something to think about. And if you're ever down here in the Golden Isles, go see my boys up at Brogan's North. It's a little restaurant here on the north end of the island. And if you go in there, get the chicken wings that's finished on the grill. They're the best chicken wings you've ever had. So stop by and see my boys up there at Brogan's North, and I don't think you'll regret the night on the town here in the Golden Isles. So thanks for joining me on the channel. Certainly love to hear your comments, and hit the like button, subscribe button. Certainly not putting any pressure on anybody. I just enjoy doing these shows, and hopefully I can provide a little information that's a little different than the noise that's out there. Nothing fancy on this channel, just a avid viewer of college football, a father, a grandfather, a husband, college athlete, youth coach, just enjoying being able to come on and give you my opinion of what I see out there. So I wish y'all a good week of college football this week. I posted my picks of my Maction on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and I will be coming out with my picks for the Saturday games. Last week we were 4-2 on our 6-pack, and we lost by 1 game on our 3-game parlay, but we did win the locksmith pick. So all in all, it was a pretty good week. I think we were 9-4 against the spread on individual games, but we did lose the parlay. So check back with me, and I look forward to hearing from you, and have a great week.